Hello and welcome. My name is Aryan Vaid. I'm an actor here in India, mostly on television. I was also a model, and I've also done movies here. Currently, as the Indian movie industry is referred to as Bollywood. Now, here's my topic for the day. Do antidepressants work, and if they do, for how long? Now, I was diagnosed with a clinical depression about maybe about 8 months back. Um, these are the drugs I'm on. This is Ventab 50 mg, which is disvenlaxaphine. I think that's the name of the chemical in there. 50 mg, and mirtazapine, which is also the brand name here is Mernite. I'm taking 7.5. However, I was asked to take a 15 mg of this, uh, but I took 7.5 and just stayed on that dosage. I did not increase it. It also helps people with insomnia sleep better. I'm sorry, that is the aircraft going above my place because I live in a suburb called Juhu in Mumbai, India, and it happens to be on the flight route of the Mumbai airport. So yes, loads of aircrafts going right above where I live. However, talking about antidepressants, now what happened to me was I went through a phase where the depression hit me hard. It led to a lot of other problems as well, in the sense that I lost my appetite. There was constantly nausea. Completely lost my appetite. I lost the ability to relax. Couldn't sleep. Every time I try to sleep, the moment I go from that state of being awake to, getting to sleep, I would wake up gasping for breath, or be short of breath, or something like that. And I think now I could be completely wrong, but because I was dealing with a psychiatrist, and they don't give you a detailed, they don't give you a detailed account of why it's happening to you. They just take into account symptoms, and then they try to cure that. What happened to me was that I suddenly developed a fear of driving, of getting into elevators, of being around people I was not familiar with, being around in crowded places, being stuck at a red light, all kinds of irrational fears that made no sense to my logical mind. However, they overtook the rational part of my brain, and even though the rational part of my brain was trying to make sense and say, look, what you're feeling, there's no basis for it, there's no reason, and it's not real. My fears felt very, very real, and almost to the point where they were making me physically sick, mentally sick. So I went to a psychiatrist. I had to go to 2 or 3 of them before I finally found the one that gave me the medication that worked. So, to cut a long story short, I was extremely resistant to the idea of taking drugs. I went almost 2 or 3 months of going on them, going off them, going on them, going off them, giving them up completely, and discovering that they did not work, to finally getting to a point where I said, look, I need to do something, and if I don't know how I can fix this problem. Because a lot of times that chemical, serotonin in the brain, because of whatever reasons, is depleted, or the brain's not making enough. It could be stress, it could be the fact that the stress hormones being produced in your body, namely adrenaline, um, uh, and cortisol, they sort of deplete the production of serotonin. So the fight or flight syndrome kicks in, and you're constantly in that state of fight or flight. And let me tell you, it's not the best way to be in. However, body shuts down a lot of other systems. However, so I finally went to the doctor, and we tried one drug before this. It drove me insane. I only took it for 2 days, but my God, I plummeted to new depths of depression. When I started taking this drug, the doctor, we thought we'd try it. And I did a lot of reading about it on the internet. There's a lot of good stuff. However, there's also a lot of bad stuff on the internet. So it's important for you to find the drug that works for you and stick with it. And this is the key. You need to stick with it for it to work. For some people, it could be 2 weeks. For some people, it could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But you need to stick with it. Now, here's what happened to me the first time I took this venlafaxine, or Ventab as it's called. There was a friend of mine who came out from the US, actually my neighbor, has probably been planning for 20 years to come down to India. Finally he comes, and I'm in this funk where I can't do anything, can't get out of bed. So I start talking to him and I'm like, how do I do this? And I finally take this pill. And at least I felt like talking to him. I felt like doing things with him. This was right after the first drug. The second day, the third day, the fourth day, I'm shooting. And now, I also read this is one of the side effects of this venlafaxine is it might cause nausea, it might cause you to have, diarrhea. So those things can happen. Happened to me bang on the third day, and I was shooting. I had to call a doctor, take some medication for the diarrhea, for the nausea. Basically, I was throwing up for that. And, then it took about 5 days, maybe a week, for the medication to kind of settle down. And then I noticed a funny thing happening to me. I started getting okay in the evenings, which is about 8 p.m. So it's almost like living this existence like Jekyll and Hyde, where in the mornings I was this scared, confused person, and sunset, I could enjoy music again, I could at least go out and make an effort to go out with friends. I had to go for too long outdoors. Now outdoors means I was shooting, I was gone for filming for about 2 months. I was really scared before I left. However, I didn't have a choice. I needed to make the money. So I went for these 2 shoots. One was in Lucknow and was in Bihar, in Patna. And I was taking these medications. Now here's what started happening to me. From 8 p.m. when I started feeling better, came down to about 5, maybe 6 p.m. when I started feeling like, okay, things were gonna be all right. So when I woke up in the morning, it was again that crazy funk, going up until like maybe 5, 6 in the evening and start feeling better. I started telling myself things like, well, I'm gonna feel better for at least 12 hours of the day, and I'm not gonna be okay for about, the other 12 hours, but that's better than not being okay 24 hours a day. So I continued with my medication. With the doctor I went to, a psychiatrist, at one point I was crying. I was like, Doc, do you ever think I'm going to be, if I'm ever going to feel the way I felt, 3 months before? And he said, look, I guarantee you, you will feel that way. What you're going through now is a phase. So I remember that, and he said, it's a phase, it will get over, so relax. And I tried to hold on to that. I wanted that phase to end. So I asked him, when do you think will it end? And he looked at me and he said, well, you've started taking the medication, it's been about a month. I reckon another 2 months, or maybe a month and a half. And bang. Not that, it wasn't a placebo or anything like that. What happened is, from about 5 in the evening, I started having days where I felt fine the entire day. And I had 2 of these days, and I had this one day again where I did not feel good. So that anxiety would come back, and I would question myself, and I'd be like, well, I thought it was gone because I'm taking the medication. Why has it come back? But it wasn't as intense, and my appetite was coming back. I wasn't feeling the nausea anymore. I started working out again. I started doing weights. Now also what happened at that point is I discovered yoga. I discovered 2 techniques, breathing techniques called Anulom Vilom and Kapalbhati. I suggest you look this up. You look up a guy called Baba Ramdev. For all people who are not from India and are not familiar with Baba Ramdev, and I suggest you look up these two techniques and practice them religiously for at least 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes each. So I started doing this, and I started doing my weights, and I started training. And what happened was I started feeling like something was wrong. Like I was afraid of that feeling, but nothing was wrong. You know what I mean? Like nothing was wrong with my brain anymore. But I was just afraid that that thing would come back. So from having 2 or 3 good days and then having this one bad day, I went to about maybe like a week and then asking myself, is it going to come back? And just being scared that if it was going to come back and if the medication didn't work, what's it going to do? Here's what, when you take antidepressants, what you also need to understand is that if you, now the antidepressant works on a physical level, not on a mental level. You need to do the mental work, which means you need to work on your fears, which means you need to give your mind the support it needs, and you need to not believe everything you read on the internet. You need to understand that people will talk about drug resistant depression or drug resistant anxiety disorders, and I thought, what if I have that? A relative of mine got diagnosed with cancer, and I started thinking, well, maybe it's not a depression. Maybe what I've got is, the big C. So, here's what I started doing. It was yoga, my weight training, and the medication. Now, it goes hand in hand. And my appetite was back, and mirtazapine is known to do that. This drug is known to do that. It will give you sound sleep. Now, what happens when you sleep well? Your brain produces enough serotonin, and what happens is, as a result of that, you wake up and you go from this extreme of not being hungry to suddenly realizing that, man, I can eat a horse right now. So you're gonna start eating a lot. I was trying to eat right. However, I was drawn to carbohydrates, and by that I mean sugars. I was always very fit, but for some reason I was drawn to sugars. I was staying in really nice hotels at that point, and no matter what I did, there was always this huge spread at the buffet table, maybe like 20 kinds of dessert, just laid out there. So there I was tasting all of them. I gave all that up maybe a month after I started feeling better. So maybe like 2 months after I'm taking those drugs, I start feeling completely okay. Now I'm thinking it's okay for me to get off the drug because I'm fine. So I go back to the doctor and I talk to him, and he said, well, you need to take them for maybe another 9 months. And I was like, well, I'm putting on weight. And so I started getting depressed about the fact that I was taking something that was making me put on weight. Now this did happen to me. I put on a lot of weight, and this is after I gave up eating unhealthy. I started eating healthy. I still wasn't losing weight. I was gaining weight. Every time I got on the weighing scale, I put on. I was gaining weight. This is the fastest I've gained weight in my life. Even if I tried to gain this kind of weight, I would not have been able to gain it. But you know what I told myself? I said, if I'm getting better, I can always work on my body, but it's the mind that needs to get better, needs to get calm. So I continued taking my medication. A lot of people would stop taking the medication at this point, where they'll be like, I'm fine, I'm putting on all this unneeded weight, so I'm going to quit the medicine. Don't. Because definitely don't give it up cold turkey. And if it comes back, you're going to have to go back on the medication. You're going to have to deal with all the weight and everything all over again. So don't do that. So I kept up with my drugs. How I was trying to lose weight, I was trying to figure out how I could do it. Went on different websites, tried different approaches, wasn't working. No matter what I did, I was gonna put on weight, which is affecting my work, it was affecting my confidence levels. The only thing that kept me going was that despite all that, I was feeling a lot better as opposed to what I was feeling 6 months or maybe 5 months back. So I kept up with the drugs, and then I started watching documentaries on people who went from like a lot, who've lost a lot of weight and how did they do it and stuff like that. And I discovered, I was like, okay, I could take these drugs, but I could still incorporate a lot of raw food into my diet. And guess what happened? I started taking raw foods, and I go back to my doctor, and I'm like, doctor, I'm still gaining weight, but it's not as bad. So we're on to Mernite at this point at about maybe 9 months, and so he goes, well, I'm gonna try and wean you off this one. Now this does make you put on a lot of weight for a lot of people. Mirtazapine is the name of the chemical. So I said, all right, I'm going to, hopefully get off that. Now I start getting onto this raw food diet, fruits and juices, fruits and vegetable juices. Finally I discovered superfoods, spirulina, goji berries, things like that. And bang, I started feeling so good. I started feeling so much better than I'd ever felt. And the weight, every week I just kept losing weight. Despite being on antidepressants, I was losing weight. I was losing all the unwanted water, all the unwanted water retention was going. I was losing fat. I was losing weight. I was losing inches from my body. All my jeans that had become like super tight from the thighs fit me the way they fit again, like last year, the way they fit me last year. And I got to a point where I was like, am I losing too much weight without even trying to? Because nothing had changed except the diet. The antidepressants I was still going on, except I'd given up one of them, but I was still going on with the others, with one of the others, Ventab. And that really encouraged me, to find out more about the raw food diets and stuff like that. Well, it's only been about 2.5 months I've been doing it, but the byproducts of that is I've never felt this good about myself. I have never felt so much in control of my weight, and I've never felt this satiated with the food I'm eating. I've never felt it. If I ate earlier, people were like, you need to eat every 2 hours. And what's wrong with you? And I thought that was healthy because I was working out, so I needed to eat every 2 hours. Once I got on the raw food diet, I'm eating like maybe 4 meals a day, but they're not big meals. They're like 3 small meals, and my migraines are gone. That was the other thing. Ventab, when I started taking it, would give me a lot of headaches too. They're completely gone. It's been 2.5 months. I've not taken a migraine pill. I was taking about maybe 4 pills a week. I was getting at least 2 migraines a week. So, do antidepressants work? Yes. Are you going to put on weight on antidepressants? In all likelihood, yes. Is that going to be the kind of weight you can control? In all likelihood, no. The only way to control weight when you're on an antidepressant diet is if you're going to eat good, solid nutrition where your body gets all the micronutrients. And I also think, I'm not a doctor, so I cannot give you medical advice, but I also think the moment you start eating raw food, your body is getting the micronutrients. That's going to help your brain a lot. All these superfoods might actually be food for the brain and might actually help you heal the depression to a point where you may not need to take the drugs anymore, or you may never need to take them. So currently I'm sort of like almost, I would say 70% of my drug course, or drug therapy course, of taking Ventab. I cross my fingers and I hope that when it's time to go off them in March, I should be fine. But well, here's what worked: the antidepressants, the yoga, and changing my diet and getting more in touch with natural foods, organic foods, just basically getting more in touch with nature completely changed my mind, completely changed my life. So if you need to take antidepressants, don't worry about it. Take them, do what you gotta do. But at the same time, just don't take them and think it's a magic drug that's going to heal everything. It's not. You're still gonna have to do the work that you need to do. You're still gonna have to take care of your body. You're still gonna have to take care of your diet. You're still gonna have to do some kind of meditation or some kind of work which calms your brain down, which helps your brain not release the stress hormones. So, I hope this is going to be helpful, especially for people who are contemplating taking antidepressants or who are taking them. And if you need to go off them, or if you need to take them, well, take them because they do work. But it would be very hard to make them work without you doing the legwork as well. So I hope, and I know depression's nothing to laugh about, but I can say this in all honesty. There's a reason why things happen to us, and maybe I had to discover this holistic way of life, because that's been the byproduct. I've discovered this whole new approach to life, and it's really helped me. So here's wishing all you people out there. And things aren't as bad as you think they are. You just need to find a way. I'm not gonna give you the optimistic answer and say, well, where there's a will, there's a way. No, where there's a will, it'll help you find a way. So I hope you find your way. I hope you find the right one, and I hope you walk it with a lot of courage, a lot of sense, and just remember, no matter how bad it gets, there's help out there. There's help within you, but you need to do the legwork. You need to go onto YouTube. You need to go onto Google. You need to basically find the right guru, the right person who can help you. Here's wishing all you people who are on antidepressants, who are going to get onto them. And I don't wish unwell to anyone, but they say depression is going to be the number 2 disease in the world. It's going to be probably about 1 in every 3 people or 1 in every 4 people is going to suffer from it at some point in their lives. So if you're just watching this video, and you're not suffering from it, I pray to God you never do, because that's something you never want to deal with. But if you do, remember the formula is it's like a tripod. You've got to eat right, you've got to take the right drug, and you've got to do the right kind of exercise and the right kind of yoga. All right? You've got to do your yoga. It could be meditation, it could be breathing exercise, whatever. You've got to do it. You've got to meditate, and you're going to be able to overcome this demon called depression. All right, guys. I wish you well, and I wish you all the very best.